what y'all have done for people all over the country, world. I don't know how far your reach is. I know you've had like listeners in like random Abu Dhabi or whatever places. Yeah. Muchachi. And, so it's just all over the world. And so like, y'all have really impacted a lot of people. And so I would just keep doing what you're doing and, keep pushing the envelope and trying to improve because y'all are making a difference. And so I wanted to say thank you and thank you for making me a better person. Thank you for, I don't know how many listens if you add up 100 episodes, with the number of listeners of each episode, but it's thousands and thousands of people. They may not have listened to all of them, but have listened to some episode or another. So y'all are changing people. And so don't get complacent, don't get down on yourselves. Y'all have made a great change for a lot of people.
Every single individual has a story to tell, and they're great stories that need to be heard.
I want every listener to know they have the ability to change the world.
Welcome to the 1720 podcast.
What's up, Mount Movers? Welcome to our 100th episode of the 1720 podcast.
We did it.
I don't know what it is, but we did it.
It's over.
I know that we've been preparing for it. It really hasn't soaked in that it's the 100th episode, but when I've mentioned that to family and friends, like, oh my God, I can't believe it's been that long. Congratulations. And, it's kind of a major milestone, man.
It really is. I remember how we ended like the first season. I was like, oh, we made it however many episodes that first abbreviated season was. Then the second season, it was like, oh, we did it. It was like 50 something. And then 100, if you would have told me we would be doing this forever ago, I'm like, my story is we're going to make it about 12.
Yeah, right. This will fade off into the sunset.
Yeah, right. Been a cool journey, man.
Yeah. 2 years.
Yeah.
Over 2 years.
Yeah. Well, we take it back to the top for 100 episode though, right?
Yeah. And you think of those early ones, and we've said it several times. I think you have the strong stomach to go back to the beginning ones. I don't.
I do.
Because the second I start talking, I have to turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
But we got the OG with us today. You might have seen him in a promo video that we had a blast recording. But one of our best buds.
Numero uno, Matt Fisher. Welcome back, man.
I appreciate it. It's crazy. It was May of 2020. Corona had just happened. We were 2 months in. We met here thinking that I thought we were just like recording because y'all wanted to do something. I didn't think like you were going to air anything.
Yeah,
so
we're generally in the same spot, although the room has changed.
Yeah,
you had slid over here. We didn't know where cables were all over the table. We didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah,
and then we recorded 70 episodes like that because we
still
didn't know what we were doing.
Chairs stacked in the corner. We look back at all the marketing pictures. We're like, what is our problem?
Yeah,
the sound panels weren't even in here yet for you because we didn't know if this was real yet.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there wasn't you didn't even have the logo yet. I mean, it was
that's far out there.
Yeah. Significant changes.
And I didn't realize until like a year ago when you told me, like, hey, you mentioned that everybody's gotten a prep sheet. I didn't get a prep sheet.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And you also, I was the only guest you ever asked, like, well, in your final 3 things, it was book, one final thing, and then what's something you'd like to change about yourself or something like that. And so I was like, well, I suck at these 3 things. And I was like,
we never did it again.
Yeah, we never did it again. So we highlighted Matt's weaknesses. Let's move on.
Let's not do that again.
Yeah, that was a real train wreck. Let's go ahead and scrap that from the prep sheet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And I think we short-circuited you giving your wife a shout-out, too.
I did,
right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I basically said I like to make fun of my wife. That was the highlight of my that. And I do get a lot of enjoyment out of making fun of my wife and teasing her and all that, but also love her and appreciate her. So we'll get that out there.
Yeah. Well, what are we doing? We got a little prep sheet. I think we're just going to talk and reminisce a little bit. If you've lived under a rock for 100 episodes, who's Matt Fisher? Let's start there.
Man, I don't want to bore everybody to death, but married, Holly. We've been married 16 years. Caroline and Luke, 13 and 11 now. They've changed a lot. Went from not quite teenagers to teen and preteen, and that's a whole nother parenting lesson. And it's what's crazy is on this episode we'll reflect a lot, I know, but just how much this podcast has just helped me be a better dad, be a better husband. If you asked Holly, she probably wouldn't say I was a better husband, but
at least you're thinking about it.
At least I know where I suck. I can highlight those areas. But Yeah, just, I guess one major change is I've changed companies in the past couple of years, so a lot of excitement around that. So
yeah, last time you were here, you were doing a totally different thing with a totally different company, and looking forward to telling however much of that story you want to tell here now. But now with Woodhouse doing cabinetry, I don't want to woodworking and cabinetry. I don't know.
Architectural millwork.
Boom!
So,
I said it dumb. You said it smart. So there's a story in there too that we'll in and out of a little bit maybe.
Yeah.
One of the things I talk about a lot is I feel like you reach out to our guests and just say, hey, I don't know you, but I was on too, and let's grab lunch. So let's just start there. What is sort of being along as our number one, along with the journey with us? What's that done? What's that look like for you, man?
Man, it's been awesome. Y'all have had so many of our friends on, for one. I mean, again, I got a lot of guys. Hey, I love the two of y'all. I've known y'all for a long time, and so enjoy getting to listen to your friends talk. But then when y'all have our other friends on, it's always been fun to kind of hear some of their stories and hear different things. But then there's been a lot of people that I've enjoyed their story, and I've reached out to and become friends with, and some I work with, some are clients, and so it's been a lot of fun. I haven't reached out to everybody, but through LinkedIn, out of the, I guess, 75-ish guests y'all have had, I've probably reached out to 50 plus of them. Just, hey, I'm Matt. I loved your podcast. Love to connect. And, some I've had lunch with, some we've just LinkedIn chatted out of state, and others, I realize I'm too small of a guy to connect with, so I just move on. I'm this idiot.
Another fanboy.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to start off by saying our whole goal today is to I want to have a longer episode than Justin Parscale. Yes, that's goal numero.
He just punched his radio.
No,
and I'm committing to rolling it out in half speed if we have to.
Yes,
my name.
Yeah, just to get us there. Sorry, Justin.
I sound a lot better if I could talk slower.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
We'll do the chopped and screwed, slowed down Houston mixtape version of Matt Fisher's episode number 2.
There you go.
I don't think we should breeze over that fact that you've reached out to what were to you 50 plus strangers just because they're a guest on the podcast, and naturally for you, I want to meet that person.
Yeah.
And you've had countless lunches, interactions, maybe LinkedIn messaging, but
I want to jump into it. I got some pretty funny stories about, or a couple of those. Rachel Kennedy. I've known her. We were recording in Texas. I met Rachel in Texas probably 15 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. We were on the Texo Foundation board before they got upgraded by Josh Carson. We didn't know what we were doing. But Rachel and we work together now. She started her own company. She helps me with so much stuff. So, there's people like that I've worked with. But then I've also known, Rachel was at Beck. I knew Rachel from her time at Beck. And then Holly Crowder also was at Beck. And so I knew who Holly was, but Holly and I had never officially met. And so I heard Holly's episode, just blown away by it. I was like, we need to talk. And so I set up coffee with her. And for those that don't know, there's multiple White Rock coffees. And so when we met at White Rock Coffee, we just met at different White Rock coffees. So I ended up showing up 45 minutes late because I went to the wrong coffee shop. Anyway. So we sit there, and if you haven't listened to Holly Crowder's episode, go listen to it. She's an amazing human being. But she's sitting there, we're talking about her husband who passed away. And I'm a very emotional guy. And we're sitting there at this coffee shop, and I'm sitting there with this stranger that I didn't really know Holly at the time. And she's not stone-faced, but she's just telling her story.
Yeah.
I am hysterically sobbing like a little 4-year-old girl. I cannot quit crying. And it was one of the most embarrassing meetings I've ever had because I don't even know this woman. And here I am just sobbing, as she's telling her story. And it kind of ended abruptly. And I was like, yeah, that was good. We got to go. And I was so embarrassed. And 2 months later, I was like, hey, can we give us another shot? If I promise not to cry the whole coffee, can we talk again? And anyway, Holly is now my executive coach.
Boom.
And
I don't think I knew that.
We've worked together for about a year. We meet once a month, and she is absolutely amazing. So I love Holly, and we kind of laugh about that all the time. But
and we laugh about you crying meeting her, but go back and listen to that episode, and it's powerful, man. And that story is super powerful, which, again, lots of themes through the podcast, but those stories that are told that have had some impacts and profound moments that we've had, it's not just you cry when people pour coffee.
Yeah.
That's a legit emotional story, man.
It's sad. Yeah, she's got a heck of a story
For sure. Okay.
That was one of those silos that we never saw coming. Was we were just hoping we could get some guests on, right? And period. We would never have thought that we could actually help those guests out by with their jobs and getting gigs. And so, like, you've helped that with several different guests that we've had to hire them on professionally.
Yeah.
And that's been a silo of value that we didn't know we'd bring to the table.
Well, y'all have impacted so many lives, and I know y'all don't like to talk about y'allselves, and y'all are going to show it's all the credit, all the others, but man, y'all have impacted a lot of people in a positive way. I don't know. So we touched on my history. I was at Brightview when I recorded, and Brightview, great company, was there almost 19 years, but within 6 months of me recording this, I had opportunity to do other things, Woodhouse being that opportunity. And I've never asked them if they knew my story because of this, but when you're on this podcast show, people get to hear a lot more about your story that you can't even just sitting at a lunch. You talk about yourself for an hour on a podcast. You don't do that at a lunch.
Right.
So you're giving 50 to 70 to 80, how many people have been on the podcast show, that many more opportunities to talk about themselves, and they get exposure for themselves, their company, and y'all have helped a lot of people, and y'all got all kinds of stories like that.
We've got a few. There are some good ones. I don't think some of them are shareable and some of them are, and there's just been a bunch of chances where people will say, hey, like, this particular thing really spoke to me. It's just these moments of, like, I listened to that, I have that exact thing, issue, struggle, problem, habit, and that was super helpful.
Yeah.
And there's lots of those.
Well, and if you think about it, like, I don't remember second or third, no, I was second, I guess, third, fourth, fifth episode, whenever Brian Bolden was, when we recorded in May of 2020, George Floyd incident had just happened.
Right.
And y'all recorded with Brian Bolden a few weeks after me. It didn't air till August.
Right.
But, like, y'all talked about racism with Brian Bolden. That's some powerful stuff. Women in construction months. Y'all have talked with Melanie. You've talked with Holly, Rachel. Some of them, again, you stacked them on top of each other, and I've never met them. These are 3 other people I've reached out to on LinkedIn and kind of texted back and forth with through LinkedIn. But Melanie O'Reilly, Sarah Nurse, right? And then
Sarah Noose,
and April Sprints.
Yeah.
You did all 3 of those back to back. Those were 3 really cool episodes about women empowerment and some other things like that. And y'all had an impact. It's not just a white male construction dominated conversation. Y'all kind of reached out and brought in some different aspects. And then from a spiritual standpoint, y'all had a lot of preachers and ministers on the show. Actually, that's been one of my favorite that I kind of went into thinking, I'm not gonna listen to this whole episode, but I'm gonna butcher his name, David
Pennuel.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he talked a lot about being a youth minister and raising teenagers and a lot of that. And as a guy that hit me in my phase of life, and I feel like you probably have that on your podcast. I may breeze over a podcast like, yeah, that was cool, it was a good episode. Somebody else, it may change their life.
Yep.
Y'all have had addiction stories. Mm-hmm. The addiction stories y'all have been huge. I mean, I feel like usually y'all hear them sitting in here. Nobody else hears the story sitting in a room like this. Almost everybody that listens to y'all's story probably listens to it in a car.
Yeah.
I would guess 75%, or sitting at an office maybe. But you're driving down the road and you're hearing this story about this woman fighting addiction, and you're like, holy cow, you're like hanging on as you're driving. Sometimes you're emotional, sometimes you're not. And it's just like the impact y'all have had by doing that, just the width of the stories y'all have told. It's been pretty awesome.
I got chill bumps, man. I appreciate you saying that, because it's not by accident that we've had like a wide sort of breadth of storytelling. It's not by accident that in those instances of vulnerability we've leaned in.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels awkward. Like, I'm gonna ask a question that I've asked a few where sometimes it comes out of my mouth and I think, is it greater than 70% chance they say, I'm not gonna answer that question.
Yeah. I don't think you've ever had anybody say, or you may have edited if they said no, but you've never had anybody not answer a question on here.
Never.
Y'all tackled some divorce questions. That's hard. Mm-hmm. That's not always fun to talk about, and you tackled a lot of that.
I was going to say something else, but you pushed up to the mic there.
Well, no, the why behind one of the whys why we're having Matt on is just the consumer of 1720 and the historian and the value. And so it's cool to hear this, and not for the praise, just from a listener, somebody in the Mountain Mover tribe. Like, you're having all these conversations that sometimes don't even get to us.
Yeah.
For every one that gets to us, who knows how many are out there for that whole exponential impact purpose.
And again, I was the second guest, but I can't. I've had so many people come to me, or whatever. First guest, second podcast, first guest. But I've had so many people come up to me and be just like, I was at a golf tournament a year ago, and I'm like, yeah, I was scanning through podcasts. I saw you did one, so listen. Just all kinds of different people have reached out to me as well, and just, hey, I liked your podcast. So it's definitely been cool. And the other thing I've learned a lot about people, like. Some of our best friends, Daniel Harris, David Fultz, Preston Presley, a lot, Dave Burrows, when he came on and did his podcast, I don't think we were business partners back then, but we are now. I mean, but getting to hear everybody's story, I'd consider Josh Carson a very close friend, have been for, I don't even know, 12 years, maybe longer. And I didn't know anything about his brother. And so it almost like, how good a friend am I if I don't ask those types of questions about my friends? And I didn't know, and we've kind of talked about that, but it's been cool to learn more. The Daniel Harris water line principle. I actually was talking to a guy that works with me today, Cody, and Cody and I were talking about it, and we discussed the water line principle, and it was just like that. Just so getting to hear nuggets like that from those guys.
Yeah.
And we're talking about women in construction. I skipped over Nicole Little.
Oh yeah,
love Nicole. Her husband Patrick's a good friend of mine, but her comment about a goalie. Mm-hmm. Like I've never considered that. That was one of those nuggets that in our leadership positions, we're goalies. And again, from a standpoint of we got everybody's back, so we're the backstop. I got your back. But then, like at the end of the day, it doesn't. Nobody gets in trouble for getting past a midfielder or a defender. If he gets past the goalie, that's the goalie's fault, and so it's my fault. I got to stop everything. At the end of the day, I'm gonna put you out there, try to put you in the best position I can. But I'm the goalie. I got to stop it on. So Nicole, I don't know if I don't remember the details of how she came up with that. But I was like, that's powerful. That has stuck with me as a leader.
There's been moments like that across all the episodes where I come back to them from from a leadership perspective, a parenting perspective, whatever. Shared them with the kids, but I find myself going back to today, for example. Here's a really good example. There's a new associate attorney, baby lawyer, first year, starting in 2 weeks. I don't know when this records. It might be today, actually. And we were talking about getting ready for him to start. And I told Ian, I said, you need to go back and listen to Holly's episode, somewhere around the 35-minute mark. She talks about the onboarding process and how you go about doing that in a way that makes people feel like they're valued the moment they hit the door. Go back and listen to that and help us put together a plan that's reflective of that moment. And I do that all the time. Go back and listen to X, where we talk about Y, or go back. And there's just this, I wish we had done a better job of cataloging, recording those moments, because they're smattered all throughout the last 100 episodes and almost 100 hours worth of recording. Actually, it's probably more than 100 hours worth of recording that's out there.
Yeah, well,
Thanks, Justin.
Parscales was 50, so
50 of those hours.
Yeah. But so between now and the 1000th episode, I think y'all should probably try to put together some, where you can Google, HR help, and it takes you to the 200 episodes that mention that. So you got a couple years.
We'll get somebody to work on that for us.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Stewie's more the historian on this than me. I was trying to even think back with Sam. Did he talk about when he had to move to Denver? Was that on air? Because I don't remember even hearing it on air.
He did talk about it just a touch,
but then more off air.
Yeah, you had to know the story to know what he was talking about, but he did talk about it just a little bit.
Sometimes I forget that too. Some of the most insane stories we've heard, Matt, is off air. After we hit close or before we record, and then we'll talk to somebody for 45 minutes, and Stewie will say, well, wish I would have hit play. and then we've left the best stuff before we even hit record. And then it's still a really good episode most of the time. But man, those first 45 minutes were pretty awesome.
Yeah. There's some magic. I mean, you know this because you've been in here when we're recording before, but there's some magic to not recording and just getting talking.
Yeah.
And I think I've had a chance to reflect over what do we do well and what don't we do well. And I think there's two things we do really well. One of them is create that safe space for us to tell stories and be vulnerable and talk about stuff. And that's part and parcel to Mike's off, man. Mike's off, doors closed. It's just people talking.
Right.
And then when you turn it on, like that's when we start to get those really cool moments and just being curious. I think David Penwell actually said it after we recorded, and I probably have said it on here since. He said, y'all superpower is being curious. And just not for the purposes of like capturing a soundbite or advancing your own narrative, for the purposes of like just being curious and being interested in what sort of knowledge people can share with you and that sort of thing. And so that's, I think, if I look back on 100 episodes, those are things we've done really well.
Yeah.
Just create safe spaces and be curious.
For sure. Yeah, I've also had a bunch of, from the, so we talked about, like spiritually and, women in construction and a little bit about racism, a few other things, but you also had some powerful people in the DFW construction. I mean, you could almost label this the DFW construction podcast. I mean, because it's, and I think everybody in the construction industry knows, and I think y'all have helped, like, the construction industry feels like it lags sometimes in leadership, and it's, not taking care of our people. And I feel like over the past 2 years, y'all have made a significant impact across the industry. Whether or not everybody at one company's heard your podcast, all it takes is for a couple people to take a nugget from something y'all have said and move it forward. You've got Tyler Burns. I mean, just some of his business development conversation was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Brad Brown, great friend of mine. Like, I can listen to him talk all day long. He's just funny.
Yeah.
He also cracks me up because my takeaway from Brad, like, how many, you've had 70 something, how many guests y'all had? At 100? Like,
It's about
probably about 70.
75.
Yeah, it's about
Yeah.
70. Yeah.
Yeah. And so out of 70 guests, you ask, what are you reading? Brad goes, oh, y'all ought to try this book called the Bible.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I'm like,
Yes.
Best business book ever.
yeah. It's like, well, we missed that.
Yeah.
So
I think we may have said it at the time when you said,
Probably.
"Oh, I'm reading the Bible." I was like, "Okay, that's the number one answer."
yeah. And so I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I'm always, when we have a pastor on, I feel like that's automatically going to be the one every time, and it never is.
Yeah.
Maybe because they know that we're probably thinking that. They're
Yeah.
like, I'm going to change it up.
Yeah, mix it up.
They all say gentle and lowly. Have you picked that up?
I thought only one time.
Oh no, that's been way more than one time for sure.
Really?
At least 3 people have said gentle and lowly.
Well, they're all probably connected through Watermark, so that's probably like required reading for ministers at Watermark.
They must be spread out every 6 months, so it's new to me every single time.
Hey, Kev, remember when that happened 6 months ago?
No.
Yeah,
I don't know what I
that's
had
a
for
no.
breakfast. Incorrect.
That's funny.
But then, like, Bennett Brown, again, good friend. Another guy I've got to know that I didn't know prior to podcast, Dan Bradley. Dude, love that dude, man. Hadn't got to spend a ton of time with him. We've talked several times, met several times. Just dynamic leader. Really excited about what he's doing in the industry. So, I mean, again, having him on the podcast was huge. Katie Striping, getting that up and running. He's got such a challenge there, and trying to listen to him talk through some of that and just how they're tackling stuff. I think that's such a cool thing for him to be doing, and just kind of shows what type of person he is. So he was a big one for me. Just love listening to him.
There's a go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying for Dan, like being the entrepreneur. Entrepreneur.
Hey, can I, for the record, I want to put this on air. Yes, I'm going to say it. So prior to coming on air, I said a word that Stewart doesn't know.
No. Well, okay.
Yeah.
I know the word. I got them backwards. I got
Yeah.
them mixed up with another word, and I was wrong. I was definitely wrong
You
on
were
a
wrong.
word.
You were wrong.
I was definitely wrong on a word.
Yeah.
For the second time today.
Yeah. Somehow I know what homely girls are, and Stewart does not.
We could build on that. So the first time I walked into Sadie's house
Whoa, you better.
or apartment, I said, "Hey, this house is it's very homely in here." Is that the negative one?
That's not the good one.
Yeah. And so
Homey.
she was like, "Well, that's rude." Like,
Yeah.
I thought I gave her a compliment because there's all these decorations. The only thing I had in my apartment was my TV hung on the wall. Only thing on the walls.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know where you were going with using the word homely, and I walked into Sadie's and I was like, "Whoa, be careful here, dude."
No.
We can edit. We
Definitely
can edit.
not.
Yeah.
Nope.
Homely, and homey. Those are different words.
What up, homie?
What up, homely?
And we're officially in the ditch.
Oh, for
yes.
sure. Okay, so I went and pulled it. No, unsurprisingly, I have a spreadsheet that I keep of who was which guest, and so you back on. I don't know. Technically, we're Stephen Hawley last week was guest number 69, so you would be guest 70, but we're not counting you twice because it's a unique guest list.
Yeah.
So order of magnitude. There you go.
Okay.
Which means 30 times people have been stuck with just us, Kev.
Well, and you had Melanie on twice. You had a BYLR segment.
Yep.
And I almost just pulled a Fultz.
Talk about historians.
That was, and I was sitting in here for that moment. I don't know that I've ever laughed that hard ever. Just so David Fultz was recording for the BYLR segment, and like you need to go back and find on social media because you didn't drop it in the segment with David. You dropped it in the comments down below. But David's sitting here telling his story, and
the Holy Spirit took over.
The Holy Spirit took over for Bish, and he let out a frog noise.
Yeah, the Bish. Oh my gosh!
Oh man, so good.
I don't know where we're about to go, but the one thing I want to bring up about Dan Bradley, is not so much like that story, but just the whole industry. Like, because we need to raise the bar in the industry, he was about to leave the industry because of one little look from one company. And how bad it was for him. He was ready to escape. And it's like, hold up, man.
Yeah.
We actually got some good people. I promise.
There's a million good people in the industry. It's awesome.
And hopefully I'm not oversharing for him, but one of his stories he told me since he's got this thing started is like, I'm amazed on how low the bar is. One of his guys, the only thing he asked him is, hey, do you think you'll pay me? He's like, not only am I going to pay you, but I'm going to show you that you're valuable. Dude openly wept just from knowing that he's going to pay him for services rendered.
That's awesome.
It's awesome. It's bittersweet.
Yeah.
Man, that's the bar.
Right.
Like, will you pay me after I work?
Yeah.
Yeah. He told me that story in the parking lot one day, and I was like,
it's a bummer.
At the time, I was like sort of dismissive of it because I was like, of course, right? Yeah. And then it took me a minute for that to like sink in, and I was like, oh wait, holy mackerel! Like
that's an experienced reaction,
right?
Yeah.
Right. Crazy.
Dan Bradley is a good segue into one thing y'all have absolutely slaughtered. So you have the DFW construction industry on lockdown on the podcast. Somehow, y'all have tackled special forces.
Oh yeah.
How do you? So, our two specialties are construction and
Ninjas.
Killing people. Yeah, like it's like y'all have had some amazing people on it, like Mike Sorelli, and
game changer for me, man.
Dude, he was. I don't know. I guess everybody was a big name on here. I'm not trying to, but he was one of the first big names y'all had on early on, like a year and a half ago, right?
Oh yeah, just absolute guest hustle. And then when we got one finally committed, him and I freaked out. We're like, holy crap, we got to make this happen. Let's do a promo video. We're driving to Austin.
Yeah, y'all went to Austin and interviewed him there.
Oh yeah,
that was so cool.
On Insurrection Day, so we were right by the Capitol. I was having trouble getting to Stewie's office in Austin because traffic was blocked everywhere. Remember that?
I do.
That's crazy.
And I had a big, gigantic green tub full of all of our equipment, trying to like schlep it in and drop in microphones and stuff.
And dude, the dude was like, what? I might get this wrong, but like 72 hours removed from a full hip replacement.
Oh my
God. So when he showed up, he's like, I just didn't want to bail on you guys. Like, showed up with a cane, like, not in great shape. And we're like, dude, we could have like waited for this, man. Mm-hmm. He committed, and he was committed on doing it. To two guys he's never met before.
The Texo EDP class he did, it was like, I don't know, 3 hours long.
Yeah.
I have the attention span of like a chipmunk. And so like 90% of the time when people are talking and speaking, I'm like trying to like figure out what I'm doing tomorrow or like taking notes kind of haphazardly. Yeah. Like, dude, I was so intent on, I got the notebook in my truck, but I got like 7 or 8 pages of notes from a 3-hour talk. And that's a lot for me. Again, I was homeschooled in Mississippi, so like writing and listening and all that doesn't really work for me. So, and by the way, my mom hates when I say that, like, because she homeschooled me. Yes, she was like, because
I'm a good teacher.
Yes, that's what she said. She's like, you make it sound like I'm an idiot. And I'm like,
hey mom, you did a great job.
Yeah. Shout out to the moms.
Shout out to homeschool moms.
Yeah,
I was off to the side. I think you and I were kind of close together, sitting for that EDP meeting.
Oh, yeah.
But I could see Matt's profile, and I just saw the wide eyes, dude. He was in. And every so often, I wanted to see the engagement, and I would look and scan the crowd. I'm like, oh, man, he's got us all. Because he would look at you for like 10 seconds and stare through your soul, and then look at the next person. And when he did it to me, I'm like, I'm not looking away again. I refuse to look at my phone.
I was putting together. I didn't put together a top 5 favorite podcast list, but if I did, One of my favorite moments is when Mike Sorelli was on y'all's podcast. Had just dropped The Talent War. And Kevin Gary talks about, dude, my favorite book ever was it David? No, it was Jocko.
Yeah.
Jocko.
Yeah.
Extreme Ownership. He goes, yeah, it's my favorite book ever.
You could see the oh no set in as it came out of his mouth.
Yeah.
So we're sitting across a giant marble table in my office, and I could see the oh no set in.
I vividly remember that. Yeah. And I remember him like just scratching the book, looking down, and then looking up at me. He's like, sorry, mine was no good. I'm like, I just want to go home.
He actually said that, didn't he?
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I am, and Fisher and I talk about this because we're both guilty of it. I will put my foot in my mouth constantly.
Oh, you guys texted me.
Yeah, Stewie did it.
I did it a few weeks ago. I won't say.
Don't drive it.
Yeah, I had a bad one a couple weeks ago. You guys put me on blast. We don't need to identify where it was, but y'all caught me on one.
Yeah.
Here's a fun Sorelli deal. I was like, I got to read this book.
Yeah.
I can't go down and interview this guy having not read the book. Right. And so like, all right, I'm going to read it.
Reading it on like while you're driving.
1.8 speed on the way down.
Physically reading.
Yeah, so I was like, just like classic Stewie, I have all the best intentions, and then like I wake up one morning and it's like, my science experiment's due today, and I haven't started yet.
Yeah.
And so I physically read the book in the car on the way down.
Oh my gosh.
It was the most idiotic and dangerous thing, but I mashed it out.
Kids don't do this at home.
Don't do that at home.
Do that at home.
I remember meeting you at Papados. You're like, well, I'm prepared now.
Yeah.
I was swerving all over the highway.
No, it was good. I had my knees locked in and one eye on the road, and dude, I had a highlighter and flags and tabs too.
Yeah.
Like when we showed
it was
up,
carved up.
When
you
I
looked
got
so prepared.
When
I was like, this is such a hoax.
No, when
This
I
is
got
the
into
second book he's read in 5 years.
Probably. When we got into the car, book is clean. When I get out of the car, trash because I read the whole thing.
Yeah,
I feel like they're gonna
dangerous.
Yeah, right. They should. Yeah. That was dangerous. But I did
so,
it.
The cool thing is like and it's not like best buds, but he's a friend.
Yeah.
April is a friend. Megan's a friend. Sarah's a friend. We talk.
Yeah.
And like those friendships never come if we never take this experience on because we're in our little construction bubble. So all those authors and entrepreneurs and special forces that make up the pie chart of guests of 1720, like what a ride, man.
Yeah.
If for anything else, just to make some cool friends in other industries and walks of life.
Absolutely.
And they have stories we don't have, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So a couple more I want to jump into. One is Chris Cassidy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on a road trip to we went in June. We went on a road trip to like Colorado, Arizona, Utah, and all that, New Mexico. And I'm driving like late one night and just listening to it. And dude, I had to like tell everybody to be quiet in the car because I'm like, this is so powerful. And that his opener. So if for listeners, if you hadn't listened to Chris Cassidy, go listen to his opener. And it's like the first story I'll talk about with him.
Yeah.
But just talking about what is when he had a Navy or Air Force recruiter. Was it Navy or Air Force?
Navy
recruiter just hooked him up.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even realize it. And then 30 years later, he goes back and finds that guy and talks about the impact. Like that dude making, 2 calls, 1 call for him, like set him up on a path that, and I feel like that's what y'all have done for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. You don't realize it. Like you're not seeing the benefit from it. And like for me, I don't know where I'd be. Even I might still be at Woodhouse, but but I wouldn't know Holly Crowder, and Holly Crowder has 1,000% positively impacted my life. There's a lot of people like that I think have stories that may not be a Chris Cassidy, like, oh my gosh, but it's a big impact, and y'all have done that through this podcast, and that's pretty awesome.
I got chill bumps because I don't like to talk about me. Well, I do talk about me a lot, but not like that.
You do.
Yeah. All I could think about is how fanboy I was for Chris Cassidy.
Dude,
it was awesome.
He's got
NASA
an amazing
astronaut.
Dude.
He took the first SpaceX flight into
into
the International Space Station that he was commander of.
And it's like every time you feel like, hey, you know what, I'm doing okay. Like you just go find somebody, and I'm moving backwards. Like I'm standing still. Like 100%. Chris Cassidy's like just blown away.
Yeah, he's lived 10 lifetimes.
Speaking of Stewart talking, like my probably my all time favorite I don't know. It's kind of recent, so maybe it's fresh on my mind. But probably my all-time favorite podcast comment ever.
Oh no!
So let me set the story.
Yeah.
So Kevin and Stewart are talking to AT. Special, and I've never met.
know what it is.
You do?
Yeah,
I don't know what it is yet. Memory.
Yeah,
So.
I've never met AT. Sounds like an awesome dude, but
Awesome dude.
I've got Rambo pictured in my mind, full Rambo gear, headband, face paint, arms the size of my head, and he's got a butcher knife, and Kevin said something about trying to escape AT, and he's like, I bet I can outrun him. And then AT said, I know you can outrun me. And Kevin says, well, all I got to do is outrun Stewart. You got to be faster than the slowest person. And Stewart responds. So I've got, Kevin running away, AT in full Rambo gear, about to kill somebody. And Stewart responds with, and I picture Stewart in full lawyer gear with briefcase. Stewart responds with, well, I'm cagey around a table.
Yeah. It's so good.
That's what. Okay, so that's
how does that?
Because it's funny because you have it pictured we're in a field and he's trying to catch us.
Yeah.
But to me, we're all sitting here around the table. So in my mind, when AT jumps up to try to kill us, he's got to come at me, right? So and so I'm thinking if he comes at me, you're on the
Hey, a table's not going to help you, bro.
But I was thinking I could
saw that thing in half.
I could just shimmy. And I actually did, y'all can't see it, but I actually did this this bit shimmying around this table when I said it, and I don't know. But I knew you were going to I knew that was it when you said it was AT.
That's like the Indiana Jones guy with the swords, and he just pulls out a gun. And
yeah.
Anyway,
that's it.
I got to talk about. I have a new bingo tile. That's in your prep sheet for tomorrow, which will be a past episode, so I can't talk about it right now. But Fish was pivotal in helping me. I think I ran it past Fish. I'm like, hey, do you think Stewart would take this the right way? I was just thinking about it and making a random post about the Stewie bingo. Yeah. And it's like, what tiles do you think? And he actually helped me fill it out.
Yeah, we were texting back and forth about what to make the Stewie bingo tile.
Is this one borderline not cool?
Which one's cuts too deep?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we wanted
to make fun of you.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to make fun of you, but not in a hurtful way. Yeah.
So you'll have to listen to a week or so ago.
Yeah.
That's in the future for us. That's super confusing. But I'm about to replace a tile.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's
With what?
awesome.
I can't tell you,
No,
bro.
man. Thought I'd get you.
But I've already told you.
Oh goodness. Don't even know what to do with that.
The other one, Dean Stott.
Oh yeah.
How about
Insane.
that dude? Oh my gosh, you got him and Chris Cassidy. How do y'all even get those guys? I know that'd be a question I have for y'all. Listeners want to know. I hear the story, but how do you get a Mike Sorelli, a Dean Stott, Chris Cassidy? How do you get freaking world famous people to come on an awesome podcast? Don't let me get me wrong.
Yeah.
But
For the most part, their PR teams reach out to us.
Begging us.
yes. Oh my gosh.
Okay, James Bond.
I hear y'all are the special forces guru, and that y'all are cagey around the table.
That's right.
With your shimmy.
It was all Kev. Kev's done the super hustle, man. It's all Kev doing it.
It's trial and error, finding your business development journey, really. In the construction world, it's kind of similar to this, where initially I would see somebody and I'm like, man, that'd be awesome, like a Jocko, and you send a message, you get ghosted, you get ghosted, and you get ghosted. And then I pivoted to, let me just go build some friendships first.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of discussions that happened. And then I'd be like, hey man, you want to come on our podcast? It's a leadership podcast. It's going to be awesome. They're like, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So it's relationship first, then ask. Don't ask right off the bat. So that was, at least in my journey, trying to land some of these big fish. Just get to know them first.
Yeah.
Well, and then shout out to April, because she said something when we were recording about how, I forget the gist of it. No, here it is. We were pre-recording with her, she was like, I know some people you should have on. And and then when we got finished recording, she was like, you should ask every person when you get finished, is there, now that you've sat with us and talked, you know what we're about, is there someone in your circle that you think would be a really good fit? And so we've used that tool, not probably as much as we should, but we've used that tool a lot because that's, with Michael Horn, wasn't he a Parscale referral? Where we did the Parscale, and he's like, I can connect you with Michael. He's awesome. And so when Parscale reaches out to him. It's not like hey man, we're two random bros you don't know. It's, hey, I was on this podcast. Go listen to it here. Here's what they're about. You should do it. And they hop on with us. And so I forget how like
the batting average when somebody recommends somebody is home run every single time.
Right.
So the crazy thing about April, if you'll remember this after I say it, initially it should have been virtual, and we hopped on virtually and just talked for 45 minutes and forgot to record, and then we ran out of time.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know what? I'm going to be in Dallas X date. And then it was during that virtual that she dropped Sarah and Megan. And so as luck would have it, all three of them lined up as actual guests week by week by week, right? Was it three?
Yes,
was it
three in a row.
And Zach. Wasn't that an April recommendation?
Yes.
Yeah, because I remember we were
Zach
talking.
Funderburk?
Yes.
Do you know that Small World story?
I have another small world story about Zach Funderburk. What's yours?
My wife's best friend, college roommate, high school person, or high school friend, her husband is Zach's uncle. So Daniel Funderburk, good friend of mine, him and his wife was Holly's roommate. But Daniel is Zach's uncle.
Okay, if I did know that, I missed it. But here's another Zach Funderburk super small world moment. So I think I've talked about it on the podcast, but Pine Cove does. Let's see. Pine Cove is like a outdoor based church camp here in Texas. If you're not listening close, they have a few different encampments. That one of them is in Tyler, but they also do this thing called Camp in the City, where they send counselors to local churches, and then when they hit the counselors hit the local churches, the members of the church like host the kids who are putting on the camp that week. Have I talked about this on here? I can't remember. In any event, so we hosted. We hosted some counselors from the Pine Cove camp in the city. They spent the better part of a week with us. It was awesome. Like, we had a great time with those kids. We're sitting at the dinner table one night, and one of the kids who was in our cabin said, his name's Jacob, one of the kids who was in our house staying with us says, he'd been talking about the podcast a little bit through the week, and he goes, you guys do something that sounds super similar to this podcast that my, I think it's his cousin. Let's see, I wrote it down. Yeah, that my cousin does. And I was like, oh, cool. What's the name of your cousin? Who's your cousin or whatever? It's Zach.
That's awesome.
It's Zach. And so we connected that. I LinkedIn messaged Zach from the dinner table and I was like, bro, you are not going to believe this, but your cousin is sitting at my dinner table right now.
Yeah. So it's funny. I talked to Daniel about it. Zach's one of those guys. If you listen to him talk, it sounds like he's 60 years old.
Oh, yeah.
He is the wisest 20-something-year-old I've ever heard talk. Like, it's just crazy. Like, I was blown away by his leadership lessons. His was the pen, right? Always carry a pen.
Yeah, always carry a pen.
Yeah. Well polished, man.
Yeah,
he's well polished.
He's future politician for sure.
He dropped a Churchill quote in there too. Go back and listen for it. We'll talk about it some other time on the podcast. But there's a Churchill quote in there too that's like, boy, I just have almost not stopped thinking about it.
Yeah.
About how like each individual has this like moment in their life where they're tapped on the shoulder.
Answer the call.
Yeah, be ready.
Yeah.
What a waste if you weren't ready for it. And that's been like my mind has exploded over that for the last few months just thinking about it. So there's lots of cool stuff there.
Another one, another couple within I'm bouncing all over the place. Another couple in the construction industry that really impacted me. I really liked Javier Huerta's story. The man to come up, man, his started from nothing, and just that's an amazing story. And just the company's got a great reputation now and all that. So that was cool. But Dale Payne, like, I don't know Dale very well, and he's a guy. I'd love to spend more time with Dale. But what an amazing story!
Oh yeah,
I've got. I told Kevin, I don't think I ever told you. I have a very weak stomach. Like, I'm one of those that will like faint at like a drop of blood. Like again, so I cry in coffee shops and I faint at the drop of blood. I'm not made out to be your service ninja guy.
Yet an avid bird hunter.
Yet an avid bird hunter. Yeah.
But like his the details of his cancer recovery was, dude, that I was white driving down the road. It was like, oh my gosh. Like, but Dale's story was absolutely amazing. Like, and just, man, don't quit. Like, life's too short, you just keep fighting, thankful for what we have. But dude, he never gives up. And he's like, man, he's going to work, doing his thing, and just like, dude, what a story.
Yeah. It had it all, man. The Four Seasons was,
it
still
was big.
sticks with me.
Yeah.
Like somebody will talk to me kind of like the waterline principle. I'm like, bro, it's because you're transitioning from 2 to 3 in your life.
I said that at work the other day. It's because you're going from 2 to 3 or 3 to, I forget what it was. And they're like, what? And I was like, And then the thing I do is like go back and listen to Dale Payne's episode where we talk. It's in the second half where we talk about this idea of and everybody's like, enough. We know you did a podcast.
Yeah, you do a podcast, dude.
Yeah. Just like everybody should have.
Yeah, I'm in season 3, but still act like I'm in season 2 sometimes. Yeah,
I feel like I act like I'm in season 1 sometimes. Isn't that 1 to 20? I act like a 7-year-old for the most part. So
one of the things that and you need to share your testimony with him if you haven't, with the listener reach out that you got, the touch point on that episode.
It was from Dale. Dale told it to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I don't know if you told it on there. Has he told you?
I mean, the short version, it's someone else's story to tell, but the short version was that there's someone in Dale's circle who was struggling through cancer and had sort of like on the backside listened to that episode and had like this sort of reinvigorated sense of like, this is not the end.
That's awesome.
And so there's those moments where that our having given Dale an opportunity to tell his story, and then someone knowing that he did it just listening because it was Dale had that like it's turn the life around moment.
It's Dale's story, but it's y'all's impact on other people through your ability to tell the stories and draw the stories out. There's an art to that, and 100 episodes ago, 2 years ago, y'all have had a lot of practice in getting better at drawing the story out and telling the story. And again, yes, it's Dale's story, and yes, he reached out to that person, but it's again, y'all are changing lives and having a positive impact.
You think you've gotten better at that, Kev?
Just a tad. Hello, my name is Kevin Carey.
And this is my co-host, Stuart Sherlock.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
That's how the older ones start.
Yeah.
Nerd alert.
Yeah.
One of the many awesome things after Dale's episode, we were just happy that that's now forever.
Yeah.
It's there. That story's there.
Yeah.
It'll always be there.
Absolutely.
And that counts for everybody.
Right.
Because who knows what tomorrow will bring.
Right.
And it's recorded.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I had a
cool thing.
This probably never turns into a podcast episode, but I'm gonna tell a story around that, like the posterity aspect of that, where my grandma passed away. I've sort of short sold it, and then eventually just talked about it a little bit on some other episodes. But when my grandma passed, I was just like, man, all those stories are gone. Like we didn't write them down, we didn't record them. Like whatever's in anybody's brains about something that my Mimi talked about, that's where it lives forever right now. And so on the backside of that, I don't know if I even told you this. I asked my dad and my uncle, I was like, y'all need to like get your thoughts together, and I want to like record them for you so you can get them out of your brains, for me so that I can remember them, and for the kids because like those are stories about our family that don't live anywhere.
Yeah.
And to that point of like, that's Dale's story that's out, that's Holly's story that's out, that's whomever's story's out. And I want my dad and my uncle to come like, just sit down with me and tell me stories, let me ask questions and press in and lean in.
Yeah.
Just for learning a little bit more about where I came from and what it was like growing up there and stuff like this. Because all of our parents have, and I don't know if we've talked about this to what extent on the podcast, but all of our parents have a story that probably involves the desegregation of schools.
Yeah.
We got to talking about that at Mimi's funeral and like what that meant and what that felt like. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So anyway, there's just a lot of stuff in there that, these microphones and that mixer board are recording forever. And that's really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Telling stories is cool. I mean, if you think about just through history, how much of history has passed down through the ages of just stories being passed down, and y'all are passing down stories.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Love that.
No, I'm going to interrupt you.
Okay, go.
Because he's on this mission to praise us, so we got to Uno reverse.
Uno reverse.
Name a better friend, man. In the past couple years, like how you have leaned in to pick up others, and I know a lot of people don't know this, but like, hey, I'm concerned about somebody. I've been seeing this. Can y'all reach out to them? And like, that's happened constantly. And your support and your friendship and how you model being a dad and Sunday school teacher and husband and leader now in the company and how compassionate you are. Like, it's unbelievable, man. How good of a friend you are.
Yeah, for sure. There's
all of those things.
I've got a lot of seasons in the last 3 years that you're like just checking in and popping in and let's grab breakfast and where you headed and how's it, all that, dude.
Y'all are easy people to care about.
It's not just us, man. You do this for a lot of people.
I know. We talk about Matt Fisher at our office a lot of like the way that you approach your relationships and the way you like lean into people. And Ian and I talk a lot about like how you do it and have done it. And it's like the model that you're using and the example that you're setting in the industry is is the star, dude. It's for real. So
Y'all are gonna Holly Crowder me all over again.
no, stop crying, Fish.
It's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool to think about. And I don't even know if we mentioned this yet, but we're talking about favorites and guests and moments. Like, you are by a landslide the most mentioned person ever in the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Like, mentioned more than either of us.
Probably.
Most of it's mentioned because I have no idea what the words are that Stewart's using.
That doesn't matter what it is.
Maybe that should be a bingo towel.
Yeah.
Stewart explains a word for Matt.
Yes.
Even though he's not here.
He's our dumbest guest we've ever had. He doesn't understand the English language.
You are definitely the most referenced, referred to, or shouted out guest.
It was
I
natural
appreciate
until
that.
we started recognizing it, and then it kind of became a bit.
Yeah,
like, oh man, we missed our fish quota.
Yeah. That's funny.
Well,
Do you feel
I
like
enjoy
you know it's coming? That's why he listens, because he's just waiting to hear his own his name.
Yeah, that's it.
Like, what are they going to say about me?
No, that's not it. A couple other guests I wanted to highlight.
I love, by the way, I'm going to interrupt you too.
Yeah.
Either you have an amazing memory, or it looks like you may have did a bit of retrospective. But
I did last night. I pulled out. I had
flipping through the
I had to
sheets.
be careful what I let my kids read since.
The prep sheet was dicey.
Yeah, Kevin put some dicey prep sheet comments on there. But anyway,
I had to make sure people were reading. And I knew I'd get a classic Matt Fisher laugh when you read it.
absolutely.
I'm all here for the laughs. Yeah.
But I sat down at the kitchen table and was scrolling through podcast
thinking,
episodes, and like there's so many of them. But then like just people's names, like some of them I don't know. A lot of the 12 watermark pastors you've had on, I don't know. I don't know all of that group.
It's only two.
Oh, okay, sorry. But I'm just kidding. But it's I don't know everybody, but like. It's also kind of funny because it's so true, and I hadn't seen him in a while. I need to actually hook up with him. But Kyle Kelly,
Oh, yeah.
like
Nicest guy in the room.
nicest guy there, dude. Like
Isn't that perfect?
he is the nicest guy. There was that whole bit right after he came on. I don't know if you said it on air, or if you and I were talking about it. Like you tried to out nice him at an event, and
Yeah.
you got your butt kicked.
Still,
It's like
he didn't even know we were playing.
Yeah, didn't even know it. He dominated you.
Was that on there?
Yeah,
You saw it?
No,
Okay.
it was. It was.
It was at Texas Fort Worth office, and came up with a big smile and the bro hug. How you doing, man? I'm like, man, it's so good to see you, handsome. Like, you're doing great. You're just a rock star out there. You show up all the time, and it was always Uno reverse. I couldn't beat him.
Yeah.
He sat down next to me at EDP the other day. The same, right? Like,
Yeah.
he's such a great dude.
He's awesome.
And he had just had a baby.
Yeah.
His wife had just had a baby. And he sat down, and it was his birthday, and his wife had just had a baby. And somehow, in the midst of that, like, he just wanted to ask me how I was doing. I was like, "Dog,
Yeah.
like, tell
Talk
me
about yourself.
Tell me about
Yeah.
your baby." He's like, "Oh, it's fine. How's work going?" Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, just such a super dude.
And I'm married to an Aggie, so there's not a lot of Aggie history in this room for the two of y'all. But man, like y'all know it, but the Aggies are such a kind of cult in some, and like he was the
King.
man.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy to think about. I have so many Aggie friends, and like Kyle's the biggest Aggie I know. It's just like crazy. Like he's such a good dude, man. Anyway, love his story.
He's selling books. I don't know why that always jumps out at
Book
me.
hustle.
The book hustle of Kyle Kelly. I don't know why that always jumps out at me.
Oh yeah, I was talking to somebody else that did the same thing.
Sold books.
Yeah, I don't know. It's good stories. I don't remember it.
Did you find $5 at the end of it?
Yeah. Sorry.
ADD brain with Aggies. I just saw a video going viral of some college kids calling the baseball coach, like that somehow got the bullpen cell phone.
Oh, that's
They're like,
awesome.
put Peterson in. And like, excuse me? And like, whatever his name was, and they're like, get him warmed up, get him stretching. They're like, he's in the dugout. Pull him. And then they just hung up, and then live on TV, they see the dude running from the dugout to the bullpen. I just saw that clip this week.
that's
It was
awesome.
great.
That's funny.
Shenanigans are my favorite.
Oh, 100%.
One of my, well, I guess I'm not gonna say my biggest failure. I have lots of big failures. One of my failures in connecting with guests. One of my favorite. I'm not gonna say the favorite. He's one of my top few. Coach Tolley.
Oh, man.
Shane Tollison. His energy and listening to him talk with passion about wanting to help kids. Like, again, he's not in construction. He's not running a business, but man, he's changing the future for
The world.
But digressing a little bit, I got this lady that I work with at church. We used to teach Sunday school together. Her name's Jana Horn. Jana, if you ever listen to this episode, you're the bomb. But she was a executive level banker and quit banking to go teach Sunday school. And she's teaching she's in the children's ministry in Midlothian, and man, that the profound impact she's having on God's like long-term plan. Like she's like, because she's teaching kids who are going to get married, they're going to impact spouses, they're going to have kids, grandkids. Like the number of people she's impacting is in the hundreds of thousands, potentially millions. Yeah. Like, and same thing for Coach Tolley.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I feel like we impact, depending on our business size, 100-ish, 400, 200, 500, whatever people. Right. You throw some spouses in there and some friends, we might get up to like 10,000, or something. Like, ooh, that's a good impact. Like, got to help a lot of people. Coach Tolley, he's in the millions.
Oh yeah,
he keeps doing what he's doing, like
new crop every year.
Absolutely, and and he's not doing it to go win a state championship. I mean, that's obviously the end goal, and that's
the byproduct.
It's the byproduct of it. But man, like he's in it. Like I care about this kid. How do I make him better? So I set up lunch with him, and then had to cancel work, big meeting, whatever, and then we were never able to connect.
I did that too.
D-Brad, you, me.
I need to do. I want to meet him so bad, and I feel like I flopped, and so now I'm like embarrassed. Like, I'm the guy that canceled on you, like probably morning of or something.
We had you too.
That's what I was just saying.
Did it like a month ago.
We were going to go have lunch with him too, and I forget someone was
COVID.
Sick. Someone had the vid.
Both of us did. Me and D-Brad.
You and D-Brad had the vid, and so we punted.
I didn't have the vid. I just sucked. So, Coach Tolley, if you're listening to this, we want to eat with you. Let's break bread.
Let's do it. All those schools about to start. We might have to make a field trip all the way to Waxahachie for it.
That was my problem. I'll do it. But I was trying to figure out how to get to Waxahachie and back for an afternoon meeting and couldn't do it.
Maybe we go on a Friday.
Sweet.
And then go out and shoot stuff at the property afterwards.
There you go.
I like it. Because I wanted to like show him that I'm wearing it and pump him up. Every so often, he gave me a Waxahachie football hat.
Yeah.
And before my demon dog chewed it to pieces, I gave you one too.
I know, I'm messing with you.
I remember that at least because I know swag's way up at the top for you.
Way up at the top for me, yeah.
But so the dog ate your homework?
Yeah. That dog eats everything, minus food. But I digress. Yeah. I'll send him a video of running. I'll be like, let's go. Don't let the weekend, whatever the case may be. And he'll send something back like, yeah. And then he's chest bumping his wife in the kitchen.
Oh, God. There was a hilarious one. Yes. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, y'all remember in the freeze?
Yes.
Kevin and Colby were going back and forth like in a
yes, you do curls shirtless.
Right. They were doing the shirtless running in 10-degree weather, and so I got by the fireplace, Carol, on that little tire.
And then Kevin's hot water heater exploded.
Oh my God, that was such a brutal season. Moved us into the conference room of the office on day 3 of no power.
Oh goodness gracious, man.
So one of the recent things I've been doing with Quinn, I've been trying to figure out when to activate like some principles, right? Like principles on hustle. So Tolley's episode was effort is non-negotiable. And so I've been using the word effort. Like I'll compliment it. Hey, it's sticking though. It worked.
I think of like my Mississippi dialect. You just say effort.
It's
like effort. Whoa, Quinn, don't go around saying effort.
Well,
effort.
That's why we had to do the spreadsheet on swearing so she wouldn't say
effort.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
In the ditch.
Just for the Spotify, if you're listening. That's effort.
I
will not be marking this episode as
explicit.
Yeah. Not explicit. This is not an explicit.
No.
So y'all did have to beep an episode recently. That was a first. You've never done that before.
We let
it was Tizzle.
Yeah. Well, and Dale too. But we let so Mike Sorelli said a curse word. I think it was S, and I just let it go and marked it explicit.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I don't know what sort of flags that's triggering.
Yeah.
And so Dale did it, and then I was like, I'm just going to beep it and not mark it explicit. But when Dale did it, like you could see he was sitting here, right? You could see he's like, well, and then he just said it anyway. And I was like, you could tell, like, I don't care.
Yeah.
No, wasn't Dale the one that's like, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but
yeah, he did. Yeah.
And we're like, if you caught yourself, why'd you say it?
Maybe that was out.
That was it. That was it. I remember that. He said, because Stewart immediately goes, "Yeah, probably not," or something like that. Yeah.
AT was swearing, but the funniest thing he said was he's talking about the railroad supervisor, and he called him Clown Town. Then I saw Clown Town's head pop up, and dude, I was laughing out loud.
His story was pretty funny.
He's a dude.
Yeah.
You got to hook up with him. Talk about a guy that make an impact to your company.
We've connected on LinkedIn, and are planning on hooking up. So hey, but I interrupted you with effort.
E-Fort.
E-Fort.
So, we're talking about E-Fort. So I'll say some subtle things to Quinn at gymnastics, like, you did great effort. Just give it your best effort.
Yeah.
And so just kind of planting that seed of effort. And then when I see her slack, I'm like, hey, when the coach isn't looking, you still got to give effort. Yeah. And we were doing prayer time, and she wants the just easy button. She's like, dear God, thank you for everything. Amen. I'm like, was that your best effort? Did you give a true effort? And then she broke down, not break down crying, but broke down a prayer. She was like, thank you for Avery and Ashley for letting me play at their house, and thank you for their mom for giving me shoes. Amen. And I'm like, all right, that was more effort. That was very specific.
Yeah.
So I've started that, I guess, the Stewie motivation where he's hitting his kids and they're eye rolling with the motivational quotes. And,
dude, I feel like I'm a slacker as a parent because of what you like teach your kids. Like I'm sitting there playing Fortnite with my son, like just
as
cutting
important,
up,
man.
saying your mom jokes and stuff like that.
We do that too. We do that too.
And Stewart's like trying to, teach his kids to give 30-minute like leadership talks. I
love the eye roll door slam reactions.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite.
Oh man, the other day, that was a really good one. The other day, this is talking about William. We were, let's see. The right place to start this story is when he was in kindergarten. We were running at the time. William and I would get up and we would go running, and I didn't think anything of it because I was whatever. And I would keep telling him, because he would always want to quit. He's like, oh, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm tired. And I would tell him then, I was like, dude, your body is strong. It is your mind that is weak. Like, you're quitting because you think you're tired, not because you're actually tired.
Right.
And so this became like the mantra that we would run through, that your body is strong, but your mind is weak. And so the other day, I was taking him, this is another, like, dropping him off of cross country.
Yeah, pretty sure my body's weak, but keep going.
Yeah, and so he was, he'd just come back from camp and played 2 basketball games, and like Monday morning cross country was not something on his list. And I said, hey, remember when you were a kid and we would go running in the mornings and stuff like that? He's like, yeah. And I was like, what was the mantra? Like, what were we? And he looked at me. This is like 8 years later. He looks at me and he goes, my body is strong, but my mind is weak. And I was like, all right, man, get out there. And he got out that morning, and I was like, hey, something stuck. He listens.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So but I do get mostly eye rolls. Like I get mostly whatever,
Shout out if anybody out there is looking for a DJ. Shout out to DJ Hayes in the past. It's a little bit hot right now. Most of our stuff's outside, so I didn't want to like murder him in the heat.
Put him in a box and die.
Yeah. But Stu's son Hayes has a DJ business that is pretty legit. So
he does a good job.
Yeah,
we got a request last night actually. Hey, DJ,
Woodhouse.
Do what?
Woodhouse is number one client.
Yeah, Woodhouse is currently his number one client, but it's not Woodhouse.
Yeah,
somebody else like, hey, can you come help us with something? I was like, yeah, here's the number. You deal with him.
Yeah,
you might know him from such events as the Construction Kentucky Derby in Grand Prairie.
Yeah, there you go,
dude. He
slayed
it.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. And then there was one we had him like in I think it was, I don't remember what it was, something we did at our office, and it was like not quite 1,000,000 degrees, but like just
crawfish boil. I think.
No, that was super windy. Something.
It was the Texo YCC.
Yeah, YCC
job site tour or shop tour.
1,000,000 degrees, and we put him in a box truck. He almost died.
And he like showed up in like joggers and a hoodie with his Supreme cap on or something. And I was like, bro, you're gonna be hot.
Yeah,
that's not the right attire.
Yeah,
but it looks cool, Dad.
Yeah, it did look cool.
Looks cool, old boy.
Yeah. Another one, I failed to hook up with Tolly. Another one that I have like failed miserably to hook up with, which I haven't. Jake Thompson.
Oh man,
I missed the EDP. Like, so I follow him on social media. I love listening to him talk. I get I think weekly emails from him or bi-weekly emails, or I don't know. I get emails.
Yeah.
So I love all his stuff, but we've never actually connected. We've actually emailed back and forth, texted back and forth maybe, or LinkedIn back and forth. But again, that's a really cool guest. Was he military?
No.
No.
Okay.
Jake has been, I don't want to like overstate it, but
I did meet Jake. Jake was at the Derby.
Jake was at the Derby.
His wife.
Jake was at the Derby.
I did meet him, but we haven't spent. That wasn't quality time. We haven't spent.
Ashley made fun of me about that because were you standing there, Jake? I was standing in line for something, and Jake walked up behind me, and I was like excited to see him, and so I turned, and instead of like being, "Hey, what's up, man?" or whatever, like I actually said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see you," is what I said. And Ashley was like,
"Fanboy,
what?" Ashley was like, "What is wrong with you?" I was like, "I don't know. I was super excited to see Jake."
Yes,
but I super love Jake and the stuff he's putting out there. Like his universe, like speaks like directly to me. And in fact, I told him the other day, I was like, I wear this like control your controllables, like these little silicone bands. Like that's the one I put on every day.
Yeah.
And I through this season of like trying this case, was it about 2 months ago now? Like I wore that every day to trial because I was like, I can't get sucked into all of this noise. Like this was like our trial team's mantra of the week is like, we run our offense. We're not going to let that guy dictate what's going on. And afterwards I had taken a picture of it in the middle of trial and texted it to Jake. I was like, man, you don't know how much like this $3 silicone band like helped center our entire trial team for 2.5 weeks. So
isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
Think about.
Next time you're in a trial in a suit with a briefcase, I want you to stand behind a table and take a selfie.
Do some pivoting.
Say, I'm cagey around a table.
Let's see your juke game.
Yeah. I want you to.
All right, I'll do that.
I
might do that just because.
Yeah. Next time you're in court, excuse me, Your Honor, can I take a selfie in front of the.
Will you chase me around this table? It's a long story. You'll never understand it. Dude, what a retrospective, right?
Yeah.
Fisher just doing his homework over here.
It just seamless too.
Again, y'all had some awesome guests. That's most of the ones I wanted to touch on.
What's your favorite moment? Can you pick one? Like, what's your
favorite episode, favorite guest, favorite moment? Do you have like if in 3 different buckets?
Ooh, good question.
My favorite moment is the cagey around the table. I think I've never laughed. I really rewound that like 5 times.
Like of all the poignant moments and all the little wisdom nuggets and all the stories, that's your favorite.
And so it's just different. Like I've gotten so many like David Pinuel, like him, like the from a parenting standpoint.
Oh yeah,
I got so much from him. From like Nicole Little, the goalie comment. I mean, so stuff like that. I've gotten so much stuff from so many different people. It's out of 70, 60 something guests. It's really hard for me to say a favorite. I like a lot of them.
Yeah.
I have some least favorites.
Oh, tell us about those.
But I'm not going to go into that. I mean, but
That could be fun.
Yeah, we'll do that one.
No,
Let's get real.
Yeah. No.
What's your least favorite moment on the podcast?
No.
My least favorite moments on the podcast are the technical difficulties. Like, like we record with Bennett and figure out that the microphone is from the computer. Something happened with Sarah Noose during hers. And it's like, like Bennett, it's cooler because he's our boy, but we don't know Sarah.
Yeah.
You know, she's a busy entrepreneur, author of a book, CEO of a mega company. And we're like, sorry we wasted your time.
Yeah.
Dude, we had one episode. Which one was it? The clicker. Remember the one that just popped the whole time?
I think that was Sarah's.
Was it?
I don't remember. I do remember the clicking.
Oh, my
What about the one that y'all just lost? You just lost.
Who was
it? It was just the two of y'all
You
talking.
got it back, though. You
got
resurrected
it back like a week later. It was like, oh, we had so much insight from the week before. And then I listened and was sorely disappointed, but whatever.
It was the Masters episode. We're talking about Scotty.
Yes. Scotty Scheffler.
Scheffler. So we record when it was just the two of us, or if a guest is remote, we record on a platform that's online, not here in the studio. And so we had done that. Kevin and I just riffing that day, and then it just disappeared.
Yeah.
And so I got online with tech support for like 3 days. I was like, there's no way this is gone.
Yeah.
Where is it? And
what cloud is this hanging in?
And then eventually there was like a double backed up lo-fi version of it that they had been uploaded to their system, and they were like, here's the link for it. And I was like, well, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
So we found it. But technical difficulties are brutal.
Yeah, that suck. The other thing that's awesome, like y'all were on a radio segment for a while. I mean, BYLR didn't make it, whatever. But it just like from a life, like trying to do something different, side hustle, not side hustle, is part of this, but it's just like that's a cool story. Like we were on radio, like we were on Jesse Itzler, and there were some big names associated with that. Megan was on it. I mean, that's a cool story.
Yeah, Quinn can't differentiate radio from podcast, so I'm on the radio. To her, that's interesting. So she thinks it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
There was a funny, you actually unique moment around that is that we actually ended up with our slot being church time.
Yes.
And I never really thought
all
about
of our boys missed it.
Yeah, everybody missed it because they were at church. But like, also, we spoke to a whole group of people who weren't at church.
Yeah,
and I think in large part we didn't lean away from talking about God in those moments, and then playing rap music right after it. Yeah, it's our deal, man. Whatever we do, we do.
Dude,
yeah.
The pre-programmed playlist was terrible.
Oh yeah, yes, we spent a lot of time like going and finding stuff that we could play, because if you just let it autoplay,
yeah,
woo,
yeah. My son, I was one of those that I was going to church at 9:30, so at 9:00 we're on the way to church, and me and Luke were always together, and so I don't remember the song, but I should have it. But anyway, like Luke looked at me and goes, "Dad, this is the worst song ever." and he's probably 10, maybe 9 at the time, and just like I don't even remember what song it was. It was awful.
The last few weeks we did it. We sort of let it autoplay because we were like, I think this is probably winding up, and we let it autoplay, and you would get some awfulness.
Hard charging, and then the Bee Gees come on or something. It was so bad. That's what Fish would text, like, brutal music. Good segments.
Yeah.
Well, we got our hand slapped. I think your favorite song, Thunderstruck, we got that one mixed in one day. I think we took all of our friends and the most that we could find in playlists. Like, one was like a classic rock day, and everybody was like, dude, that was the week. But that was the week I think we got hand slapped. It's like, stick to the script. When it came to the songs, we're like,
okay. Okie dokie.
But it's a cool story, though. I mean,
for sure.
Y'all were on something pretty big.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was a good
That was
time.
exciting, yeah.
Yeah.
I need to go add that to my LinkedIn. I don't think that's on my LinkedIn.
I've had Stewie and I have had a lot of moments of like I'll text him or call him like, you ain't gonna believe this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's about to get news flashed on a guest or something cool we're about to do.
Yeah.
And beyond this, we've been able to do a lot of other cool things. That's something I want to ask you, man. Like, you're the idea guy and the visionary guy. Like, what do you want to see come of this, like, in the next 100?
Ooh, great question.
Ooh, that is
that on the preppy?
No. That's
curveball. It's somewhat.
That's I don't know. I don't have I think you keep doing what you're doing. Again, I love the variety. I think you probably have a section that gets you the most listens, but don't necessarily cater to that. I mean,
totally.
keep being diverse. I mean, I love everything you talk about, from having, church leaders on to, the Parkland charity guy. That was awesome. Oh, one person I forgot to mention, Denise Hannon.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Elena's Gift.
Oh, yeah.
Super fired up. She's a great friend of mine. I didn't know her till I got to Woodhouse, but super fired up about her. Spoiler alert, but we're going to try. I hadn't even hit y'all up for this, but I'm going to be hitting y'all up for money here soon.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm in for it.
We're doing we're going to do some type of charity fundraiser for her. And so, anyway, Elena's Gift, awesome story. If you hadn't heard that, again, Holly Crowder, crazy moving story. I would say similar for Denise. If you hadn't listened to Denise's podcast, pretty amazing. She does some awesome stuff. But
there's a cool. I'm gonna linger. I don't know if we've talked about it here, but she, for the first time ever, talked about how she had carried that grief, some of the grief with her
20 plus years, about
sending her daughter to go check on Elena.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
She said it for the first time here, sitting in that chair, and then had a post-episode moment with her daughter. Is like, Mom, like, you have to let that go. Like, I don't harbor anything about this. Like, you shouldn't either. And had a moment of sort of letting go of the 20-plus years of letting that linger. And so you can't put a value on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if it folds up today, man, has it done its job.
Yeah, right.
We did
a job that I didn't even know it would do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We were just trying to raise the bar a little bit in construction.
Yeah. And y'all have done that. You really have. Y'all have made a positive impact.
One thing we got feedback on that's important for us related to your numbers comment.
Yeah.
Because there's certain people that the numbers spike on, like you said. And historically, our one-on-one episodes are a little lower because there's not a guest and, some interest from outside of our followers. But our faithful followers are like, dude, you need to take a break every now and again, because when you only have guests on, we don't hear your knowledge.
Yeah.
So we get that feedback.
Yeah, right.
Every now and again. And I think you and I just talked about that, about a past episode that's going to be recorded in the future, about people wanting that. And we're like scrambling for a guest. We're like, well, let's share our ideas every once in a while.
And they're great ideas, and I love how y'all break a lot of stuff down, and y'all get to really be yourselves in those episodes, and that's pretty unique. And so I wouldn't shy away from that. That's something for the future I'd continue to do.
Yeah, I always feel like, and I know I talk about myself a lot, but when it comes to like having great ideas, I'm like, well, I don't know if I have any great ideas. Like, I talk a lot, but I don't know if any of it's any good. But you're right. We do get feedback about, like, oh, that was actually interesting, or that was a great article that y'all shared. Because sometimes that what we do is just like, here's what I'm reading right now.
Yeah.
And that'll get cross posted. And I'm like, oh wow,
But and the other thing I would say to that is y'all's mission isn't to become Joe Rogan. I mean,
No,
again,
not at
your
all.
mission is to positively impact people. So if you have one episode that only one person gets something out of,
Victory.
yeah, absolutely,
That's a
all
good
day long.
perspective, yeah.
And so, I mean, again, you don't have to have 1,000 listens per episode. If you have one listen and that person says, "Man, y'all changed my life. You changed my trajectory. You gave me hope," whatever it is, it's successful. And so, as long as people are listening, y'all keep doing your deal. I wouldn't change it up. I mean, constantly try. You always want to get better and improve and some of that. But
Well, and I think we've been able to put, I don't want to say less effort into it, but less time into things that don't matter.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay if we screw up, or if it's okay if this doesn't come out, or it's okay if we miss a week.
Yeah.
Like, finding out that, Monday holidays, that's not a good day to drop an episode, so why not just skip it? Give us some
Absolutely.
breathing room.
For sure.
Because that hustle of every single week it's
a lot.
It can be daunting at times.
And it's stressful. And so you want to have positive energy around what you're doing. And if you're just burnt out, it's just like any job or anything else. If you get burnt out, it's no fun.
Yeah.
And so while you're having fun, you're making an impact. If it becomes a true burden, then it's going to reflect in how you talk and how you move.
What's up,
forward.
Mountain Movers? Welcome
Yeah.
to another week.
Kevin Carey again.
Gonna spew some wisdom at you. Here we go.
If he ever starts a podcast off like that, I am calling him like, dude, what's up?
yeah.
You alive?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
It won't make it out.
Yeah,
I'll just
no.
cut that.
Yeah.
Just cut.
He'll speed it to 1.5, so it actually sounds like.
Hey, the 1720 challenge. We didn't talk about that. That was a super fun thing we did.
Dude, that was legit.
We did that?
The most mile. Yeah,
Well,
we.
y'all,
You got a mouse in your pocket?
y'all did that. It was a great idea, whoever had it, and the execution went really well, and getting people involved with it was great. I didn't run the miles, but whatever.
I was mentally supporting everybody that did.
Definitely was supporting y'all.
Yeah, I did it, and that was the most miles I've ever run in a month, like by a long shot. That was pretty tough. But you had a good group of folks do it.
That was cool.
25 or 30 people.
And then the turnout, we had a little party for
Prison Fellowship.
I was gonna say Erica, but Prison Fellowship.
And the Prison Fellowship. So we talked about the Parkland charity, the Denise's deal, Prison Fellowship. Y'all made an impact there, like highlighting charities that a lot of people didn't even know were out there.
Yeah.
So again, y'all's width of what y'all are covering is pretty special.
Yeah.
And we skipped that this year, but I think next year we'll take a swing at some new things
that
are beyond a podcast.
Yeah.
We got some ideas flowing.
I got some ideas. I got some big
Absolutely.
ideas.
Yeah. That some of which you're pushing. That
Yeah.
we'll talk about someday.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to hear them. Do I know them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all thinking of some of the same ones.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, that was weird that we had an idea that we're not going to share with you, but stand by.
Yeah. Stand by.
Well, because we're hesitant because once we put it out there, once I put it out there, I gotta go all in.
Yeah, Kevin's gonna go all in. Stewart's gonna be like, yeah, that's a great idea. Y'all go do it.
How can I help you do it? Y'all should do that.
Yeah, y'all should do that. A couple people I don't think I mentioned, and we were reflecting of people that I wanted to just drop a couple names of, like, I really enjoyed their podcast. One is Elias. Love Elias. Great dude. I loved his podcast. Taylor Hale.
Super.
Awesome guy. Just unbelievable leader. Like, I'm really excited about some of the stuff he's doing and what their company's doing and all that. And then Chase Wood. Like, again, I've known Chase for a long time just through you and Chase is such a good dude, but I didn't know his story.
Yeah.
And like you did, you've worked with him for 1,000 years, but like Chase is such an awesome dude. And that
He's
story.
a chill dude. He's so
man.
comfortable in the pocket.
Yeah.
In
Oh,
the
yeah.
guest chair.
Yeah. And then
Ain't no thing.
And then I breezed over her, and I don't want to breeze over her. Another person I want to highlight is Melanie.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all actually did. She's been on here 3 times.
Yeah, as
one
host?
episode.
Yeah.
Well, or 4. So
Yeah.
she had a part 1, part 2, and then you ran them together.
And then she hosted one.
And then she hosted. So she's been on a lot, and man, she's when you talk about DFW construction industry, what she
Queen
is
Bee.
doing. I mean, it was not just Queen Bee; she's changing it, and she's changing it for the better. She's making a positive impact. Like she's a rock star, and so and just what y'all been able to do at Texo because of her, and just what she's done for y'all, which impacts the construction industry. I mean, again, just can't say enough about Melanie. She's awesome.
She's a huge champion for what we're doing, and Texo's given us space, and she supported it and let us post up in the back and break in on the weekends and all that. Like without her and the industry support and Texas support, like we wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah,
we might be sitting in my garage still.
I thought that's where we were going to record. Like,
take it back to the old school.
Because well, when we first started talking about the podcast, when y'all brought this up, I want to say in January, February, we were at our little peer group meeting, and you talked about had this brain idea, and you were like, dude, I already got the equipment. And like that I don't know if that was the first time y'all had talked about it, but it was something that got brought up then. And you showed me a picture of your setup in your garage. And so like when you asked me to be on the podcast 22 years ago, like I thought I was going to your garage. Like I was like, cool. And that's what I thought this was just hey, I'm going to sit there and talk with some dudes on a mic for 30 minutes, and then it's going to get trashed, and we're going to cut up, tell dad jokes. And,
I can't remember because we recorded the first one here, but we recorded like that super long test track in my garage for sure.
Well, the first ever episode was at your house. I thought no, just the test,
track.
Yeah.
We said it was early COVID. I remember you came over. And we were still doing we did the boot tap shake because you weren't sure can you handshake and stuff.
You didn't let me in the house. I had to use the bathroom in the backyard.
That's not true. Is that true?
No.
Oh, I didn't think that was true.
You're like, hey, my turf has sprinklers.
The dog pees on it. It's fine for you.
Yeah.
But you had to get down on all fours to do it.
Yeah.
You just didn't think I'd lift my leg, but I did.
Yeah.
You would squat.
Yeah.
He banged his head on the mic.
Dude, you moved this around. It's killing me.
Yeah.
This
Kevin's
I'm
all
winging it.
Yeah. He's hit the mic 22 times.
Yeah. We were in the garage on some folding chairs and some yard tables. And
I saw a picture of it. I'm like, that's what I'm going to. And that's okay, cool. I'm in. And then I show up to this. Like, y'all got real equipment. Yeah, this is the deal.
It is a deal. Pretty good trip down memory lane to think about all those episodes and guests and stuff. So I appreciate you walking it through Fish. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man. It's listening over the past 2 years, it's just a lot of these people have impacted me, and it's just been fun to kind of reflect and talk about them. So
we've, I think did we talk about on here how I asked you the 3-step out about all the stuff you change or something?
Yeah.
We're not going to do that.
No,
this time.
thank you.
Just
Thank
a
you.
2-step.
Yeah.
Just a 2-step.
Yeah.
Kev, you want to do something? You want to do something else before we get out of this thing on a 2-step?
No. I'm interested to hear what these are because I know some of the original ones from a book standpoint, but I know you've had some recent ones that rocked your foundation a bit.
Well, it's funny because I wanted to reflect, just in reflection, I wanted to reflect on some of the books, and I feel like I ought to lead with a book you ought to read. I'll follow Brad Brown, read the Bible.
Boom!
I'm the second guest to have said it now. I feel like that's there. I got some cred there. But who was your buddy? Was it Barry that recommended the longest book in the history? It's 45 hours worth.
Musashi.
Yes.
Yeah, that was Barry.
Like the way he talked about that book, and this is he didn't say how long it was on the air. And so I remember him talking about the book, and I was like, oh, I'm going to listen to this thing.
Yeah.
And so I immediately went to Audible, and I do that with a lot of the listeners' books. When they recommend something, I usually immediately go to my Wish on Audible and just click it as down the road, I want to listen to it. Mm-hmm. And man, I did that for Muashi, and I didn't even pay attention to it. And I was talking to Daniel Harris a week later, and he's like, yeah, it's 45 hours. I'm on hour 12. I'm like, delete.
Yeah.
And it's 45 hours if you're listening at 2x speed.
Yeah.
Did you listen to it?
I gave it a couple hours, and I'm like, there's no way I'm investing another couple months into this book, man.
He made it sound so interesting. But then I'm like, yeah, there's no book that's worth that.
Yeah.
I talked to his wife at the Krisha at your event
at the AGC.
Yeah, and she was all about that life too. She loved the book too.
Oh, well, teach their own. Hey, if you got 45 hours worth to read, go read Mushacha.
I said it 3 different ways.
Musashi. I think didn't Daniel read it or listen to it?
He did.
He finished it.
Yeah, but at like 6x speed. He's
that caught me at a time where like, hey, your time is precious.
Yeah.
Get on to the next book. You have a pile of them waiting for you.
Yeah.
Another book that got, it wasn't even actually a set of books, but it piqued my interest is A.T. mentioned going and his dad sitting downstairs reading Louis L'Amour books.
Oh, yeah.
I am a Louis L'Amour fan. I have about 120 Louis L'Amour books at my house, and have read
120.
Yeah, he's got about 150, 160 books that he's written.
So are you trying to catch them all?
At one point I was. At this point I'm like, okay, I got whatever. Yeah. I was like, I don't need any more. But I've throughout my lifetime, I've probably read 2,500. I mean, because I've read a lot of them like 10 or 12 times. They're not short stories, but they're like, you can read them in 3 or 4 hours, and so it's they're I don't know, they're really good books. They're all Western based, but anyway, so I'm a big Louis L'Amour fan. That was kind of cool to hear AT shout that out on the podcast.
You read more Louis L'Amour than others have read in their entire life.
Yeah,
all books.
I
combined.
say 2,500. It hadn't been that many. It's I don't know, 100 plus books times. Probably just 1,000. Being real,
still
less than Musashi.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go off script. I got 3 books I wanted to mention, and so I want to go off script. And we've talked about this in a peer group, but I'm gonna go a little bit. I'm gonna cut the edge on the podcast. For those relationships, a book that a friend of ours recommended to me, Married Sex. I highly recommend it for those. It's a really good book. It's the church does a lot of talking about what you shouldn't do, but then it says go get married, and it quits talking. It's a pretty good book. Some of it's elementary, where to find certain parts of the body. Hopefully after a certain number of years of marriage, you don't need those minor details. But
he was going to go with like Kama Sutra with how he was teeing it up.
No. Well, it's a good book. So married, not married, about to get married. That's a good book. Another one I read that Daniel Funderburk, Zach's uncle, recommended to me, and it's extremely weird, but it's really awesome. It's called Armed and Dangerous, and it's a book written by a satanic guy who was converted to Christianity, and he's written a couple books. And man, some of the stuff and the theology kind of he has is way out of left field. But listening to him talk about demonic spirits, like it's pretty crazy. It's a autobiography. It's a really really interesting book.
In like ending in a conversion story.
Yeah. So he was at one, and I don't like. He said the demonic. They have ranks in like the demonic world, and anyway, that was just really. It's a really interesting book. So
I should read it to figure out what level my dog's at. Where you at, Series 6?
Yeah, no, he's a general. Yeah. So anyway, just an interesting book. It's like I said, it's a little bit out there with some of the stuff. But then the last book that has really, I feel like
you're about to strike us out because that's been 2 really nasty curveballs.
Yeah. No, this one's kind of right down the middle. There's a entrepreneurial operating system called EOS, and there's a lot of businesses that are on it today. I had Melanie give me a book, Keon Zandy with Skiles gave me a book, and then somebody else, I don't remember who it was, so if you gave me a book, and I'm not shouting you out, sorry, but somebody else I got 3 books around EOS, all from 3 different people. I finally read them back in June, and it's a lot of elementary stuff on how to run a business, but it's a lot of really good information, like little nuggets in there. The one for kind of owners is called Traction. But I know Dave Burrows is on it, Melanie's on it, Rocky's on it, Skiles is on it. We hired a safety group called STC. STC's on it.
Shout out to Gerald. They rolled that out at Amber, I think.
Yep. It's just there's a lot of people that are on it, and it's just Earth Tones, Justin Crockett, Earth Tones. There's just a lot of different companies that are kind of using it right now. It's just how to run a business. It's very elementary, but man, it just gives you kind of processes and kind of boundary lines and just goal setting and a lot of things that come naturally for some, and not so naturally for others. I was pointing nobody on the air. I was pointing at Kevin when I said naturally for some, and pointing to myself when I said not naturally for others. So anyway, those are my 3 books. Very big, wide variety.
That is a big wide variety. The EOS, the other 2, sound interesting because nobody's ever talked about them.
Yeah.
But the EOS one's interesting to me because I know a lot of people are doing it, and it's sort of a blind spot for me. So I feel like one of those needs to make it into the rotation for me, just so I can have some conversational knowledge around what they're talking about.
The short one is what the heck is EOS? It's just that's what it's called. That's the name of the book. It's kind of meant for your whole team to read. Just kind of give you elementary knowledge of it. So
cool.
Again, we're not really deep into it today, but I read it about a month ago, and I was like, man, this is pretty cool principles.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
All right, phase 2 of the step out. One big thing, man.
Yeah. So, my purpose, I know what my purpose is. My purpose is I want to positively impact people. And I don't know that I've always known what that was. I feel like I've always tried to live that. But I feel like over the last couple of years, I've had so much change in my life that's really been out there for me. And I think I've probably said it on here on the BYLR. I've done a couple. We did the little social media clips. That's my go-to. When people give me one big takeaway, it's I want to positively impact people. And so, how do you continue to do that? But another thing I wanted to kind of say for listeners, if you've made it, not quite as far as par scale, but if you made it all the way this far, but the rut versus risk, like life's, and all three of us have been in this in some time or not, over the past couple of years. But like you almost feel like you're in a rut. And then, like, you're scared to take that risk. And, like, my challenge to you is don't be scared to take the risk. And, again, most everybody I know that's scared of taking risk, the negatives of what you do if you take that risk, like, they're not risking much, you know. And then, like, the rut. Don't get caught in the rut. Don't get complacent. So there's a fine line between, being too risky, not risky enough. Man, just go for it. My dad, who's a very, very wise man, he wasn't when I was a teenager, but somehow when I got
he figured grandkids.
Yeah, something about when we got to about 25, he became very wise, But when I was making the transition from Brightview to Woodhouse, and as country of a saying as you could ever hear in your life, he said, when you know it's right, it'll be as easy as falling off a log. Mm-hmm. And so again, risk isn't always that easy, but when you're looking at risk in business and looking at kind of risk and what you want to do, you got to take chances. If you're going to just sit in this rut, you got to kind of put yourself out there. So
the rut's a real thing, man.
It is,
because you get in it and it's sloggy down the bottom of it, but the walls are very high to get out because it is a rut. And the longer you're in it, the deeper it gets, and it is a real thing. And I would challenge people, if you're in that rut, like, and you want to get out of it, like, what happens if you get out of it and you fail? Like, what's the outcome? I mean, odds are you're not losing your house, you're not losing your marriage. Now, if your risk is you're going to cheat on your wife, well, that could have a bad outcome. But from a business standpoint, if you're looking at doing something in business or challenging yourself personally, I think Kevin's risk is not continually challenge himself. Like he's constantly pushing the envelope. You and I are a little bit different speed. And so, that's just, rut versus risk.
Yeah. It's a good one, man.
Yeah.
It's good for reflection.
Yeah.
And just evaluating where you are and what you're doing, and if you're stuck or if you're out or whatever. It's a good thought, man.
Yeah. And then the last thing I want to say is, again, I just want to say thank you to the two of y'all. Y'all are two of my best friends, and like, y'all are awesome people. And just, I've said it 10 times on the podcast. What y'all have done for people all over the country, world. I don't know how far your reach is. I know you've had like listeners in like random Abu Dhabi or whatever places. Muchachi. And, so it's just all over the world. And so like, y'all have really impacted a lot of people. And so I would just keep doing what you're doing and, keep pushing the envelope and trying to improve, because y'all are making a difference. And so I wanted to say thank you, and thank you for making me a better person. Thank you for, I don't know how many listens if you add up 100 episodes, with the number of listeners of each episode, but it's thousands and thousands of people. They may not have listened to all of them, but have listened to some episode or another. So y'all have, is it tens of thousands probably? Yeah. It's tens of thousands that y'all have made some impact on. And so, and you throw in the BYLR and just all that, like y'all are changing people. And so don't get complacent. Don't get down on yourselves. Y'all have made a great change for a lot of people. So thank y'all, and keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate that, man. It's we don't always hear the stories, but when we hear them, they're great. And to Kev's point, I think another pointer from early on is just one matters. Mm-hmm. And so that's the goal. It's never been to change the world. It's been to change one. I think we've had the privilege of sort of being along for the ride to change more than one, which has been awesome. And we talked about it a little bit here. I think what happens in the next 100 episodes is still to be determined. We don't know where we're headed. We don't know what we're doing. Just like what happened when we had one episode.
That's right.
So I'm not too worried about it because among our peers, between ourselves, with our listener group, et cetera, I feel like we've got a pretty good group of keeping us headed in the right direction and making sure we keep doing what we're doing, which is changing lives, making an impact, and moving our industry forward. So looking forward to the next 100.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Happy 100, and thanks for everything.
Love you, brother.
Yeah, love y'all too, man.